Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Tech Talk, Modernizing Payments for Benefits and Health Plan Administrators. My name is Allie, and I'll be your moderator today. I'm a manager on our customer success team here at Modern Treasury, and throughout the 3+ years I've been at MT, I've had the pleasure of working with companies of various sizes across multiple different industries. Two of these companies have been Sana Benefits and Alegeus Technologies. Today, we'll discuss how health and benefits administrators are thinking about leveraging technology to transform financial workflows, reduce operational costs, and enhance the accuracy and efficiency of money movement. So without further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming our speakers, Will Young from Sana Benefits and Elizabeth Dobbs from Alegeus Technologies. Sana is very special to Modern Treasury because they were our very first customer. Alegeus, also special to MT, has been working very closely with our professional services team and is in the earlier innings of our partnership. We're so excited to be talking to both of you today. So for each of you, can you tell us a little bit about your company and what you do? Will, I'll hand it over to you to start.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. Appreciate inviting me on to this webinar today. Yeah, so Sana, we offer health plans for small and medium businesses, and we have a lot of operational work in actually running the health plans, and we've got the work of managing the benefit side of things too, with enrollments, and then we're vertically integrated in ways that maybe other third-party administrators, other health plan administrators might not be, because we are also a managing general underwriter, so we do all the underwriting and issuance of insurance policies. And we have a medical group that serves our customers. So we're an integrated payer and provider. So we've got a lot of complexity under the hood, but basically we offer better health plans for small businesses by integrating everything and using really great technology to do it.
Awesome, thank you. Elizabeth, can you tell us a little bit about Alegeus and what you do there?
Sure. Thanks, Allie, for having us. So Alegeus is a financial technology company that powers our clients, such as third-party administrators and health plans, to deliver benefit offerings to employers and the members that they serve. And we deliver this via a white-labeled SaaS-based solution that spans the consumer-directed healthcare space, so CDH for short. So think like HSAs and FSAs. And we're also in the COBRA and lifestyle benefit space, as well as Medicare Advantage.
Awesome, thank you. So Elizabeth, first question for you. Let's look at the benefits administration space, and what are some of the biggest challenges that you see facing the industry?
So if I put myself in the shoes of the members that are actually having to use these benefits and understand and navigate what they have, it's pretty confusing. And if you think about the consumer-directed healthcare space specifically, if we think about somebody that's maybe on a weekend going to an urgent care, they don't feel well, so they're walking into their urgent care, and the urgent care isn't going to see you without payment. I know this. I was recently at an urgent care, and they wouldn't even talk to me, wouldn't see me until I gave them upfront payment, and there's good reason for that. But even if you have insurance, you're still expected to fund a lot of your health care. And so navigating the complexities of insurance and CDH, it isn't easy, but it is especially not easy when you don't feel well, or maybe a loved one doesn't feel well. So, and then you think about days or weeks later after your visit to maybe that urgent care, there's a cycle of billing with either you or your insurance, where different systems are involved. They can be siloed, and it can be a frictioned member and employee experience. And even on the employer side, if say you use your FSA card, it's your employer that's ultimately funding that. And so there's complexities in the back end funding and reconciliation with all the data and the money that's flowing back and forth with these systems.
And maybe you mentioned this already, but can you remind us, what does CDH stand for?
CDH is Consumer Directed Healthcare. So a health savings account, flexible spending account, something where you're using pre-tax dollars to fund your cost of your portion of your healthcare.
Okay, thank you for that. And when you mentioned that there are challenges for a company like Alegeus when it comes to the reconciliation, can you expand on that a little bit? I think I've been really close to the project and I'm aware of all the different systems that are involved, but can you kind of just help us see like how many different systems are involved that you're trying to reconcile and what that term reconciliation really means? I know it's kind of a loaded word.
Yeah, so if we think about, I think I mentioned before these siloed systems, and what I mean by that is there's typically a platform of record that's maybe moving data and information and sending payment instructions after running through some complex rules, maybe eligibility, for example. But then there's the financial institutions that are actually keeping the record of the funding and the balance. And those financial institutions are using straight up debits and credits to a bank account. And then if you scale the amount of data that's running through those platforms and those systems, and you add in complexities of sometimes it's business to business, sometimes it's business to consumer, it's really can be a challenge to make sure that those two systems are in sync and every dollar is accounted for.
Absolutely. Thank you for that explanation. Will, I'm going to hand it over to you. So jumping off of what Elizabeth just said there, is there anything that really resonates for you with Sana? And what are some of the pain points that you see in the health plan administration space?
Well, there's a lot of pain points for sure. And a lot of what Elizabeth was saying, I know she was sort of talking about it in the domain of HSA, FSA, COBRA. But I think very analogous to that in the world of sort of the traditional core health plan operations. You've just got a tremendous amount of complexity and things like eligibility and reimbursements. And then you have like schedules of benefits that apply, and things can get really hairy really quickly. Especially on our side, we're dealing with all these counterparties on the back end, like vendors we have to work with, reinsurers we have to work with. And there are sort of these levels of abstraction, financial abstraction, that all these flows of funds have to go through. And again, every dollar has to be accounted for. Everything has to be in the right account at the right time. And you really want to abstract all that away from customers. So I think similar to what Elizabeth was saying about Alegeus's goal is to sort of make all those things work well and simpler for the customer, reduce the complexity. That's a big part of what we're trying to do as well. In a slightly different domain, an adjacent domain, but very similarly. It's a real problem, and we have to leverage tools to make it work.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it does sound like there's a lot of pain points just with the sheer complexity that you described. So I want to take a shift into talking about digital transformation. Why and how are you thinking about digital transformation, and why now? Well, maybe we can have you start.
Sure. Well, we're a relatively new company. I mean, as you mentioned, Ali, like we were Modern Treasury's first customer. Like we were starting our company about the same time that Modern Treasury was starting 7 years ago at this point. And so we were digital native, especially relative to a lot of the incumbent health plans. And so we sort of had an opinion early on that a lot of these systems needed to be digitized, and the business logic needs to live at a digital layer where it's governed by a web application instead of, paper or, on individuals' computers with spreadsheets. And so we tried to build things from the beginning in the way that we thought was future-proofed to the extent it could be. So we've invested in being very digital first and trying to have everything powered by modern software. I think one thing that we've debated internally that is part of this is like how much do we build ourselves, right? Like how much of that infrastructure do we actually want to own, and like how much of the digital side of things should we make versus using a partner to build. And I think that's been a more interesting debate, because of course you want all your business logic to be happening in the cloud in an automated way using software, but like do you really want to be the one that writes all of that software and then maintains it and then is accountable if there are issues later? And so I think we've been more thoughtful over time over how much we've partnered with third parties versus focusing on what really makes us special. And that's something where I think over time we've become increasingly focused on, let's take our product and engineering resources and just focus on the things that really make us different than what else is out there, and then find great partners to power a lot of the core parts of the business.
Awesome. Thank you for that explanation. Elizabeth, would love to hear how you and Alegeus are thinking about digital transformation, why and how, and why now?
So I think that there's some foundational elements that are just critical as you get ready for the future, maybe faster payments, different payment rails that are coming down, and there's just some basic, accounting reconciliation that just has to be right. Whether you transform or not, you have to get those things right. So what we're doing with Modern Treasury is really helping us is to, back to like the complexities of the financial institution and the platform, is automating the information flow between those two systems so that all of that data and matching is automatic, and our team can show up and do work some of the exceptions, but then focus on these higher value add things that are going on. Innovation, for example, not looking back to what's happened, but knowing that we've reconciled every dollar, we've worked any exceptions, and they can kind of look towards where we're going. So we really kind of removing the innovation piece, removing that the time away from having to manually reconcile or use kind of old processes, and really letting our team focus on the innovation side of things.
Thank you. I hear kind of a common theme, and I think that kind of leads us into our next question. So both of you have mentioned like Modern Treasury being able to automate and power different pieces. So with Sana, Modern Treasury is handling the payment initiation, which allows your team to focus on what you're best at and not have to worry about the payment side. And with Alegeus, Elizabeth, you mentioned the automated reconciliation and the matching. So having that go through Modern Treasury, so you have that time freed up for folks on your team to work on what they're best at. And I think these are both great examples of what's happening with your partnership with Modern Treasury. I just want to expand on that partnership a little more as you're both working with Modern Treasury outside of what you've already mentioned. What are some of the key benefits that you've seen from your relationship with Modern Treasury so far? Well, maybe I'll have you start this one again too.
Sure. Yeah, Modern Treasury has been a huge help for us. So first, when we were a new company, we were trying to figure out what to build. And really, we had a blank code repository, my co-founder and I, and we were like, okay, what needs to go in here? Like, what pieces of this infrastructure do we want to own? And knowing that Modern Treasury was there allowed us to say, okay, well, that piece is taken care of, specifically like the integration with our bank and the ability to sort of initiate payment flows and have them flow through the different accounts appropriately, reliably, in a way that was easy to audit. And that's a huge deal. I know the last company I was at built a lot of that infrastructure in a bespoke way, and there was a huge initial build and then ongoing maintenance cost. And we don't have either of those things. And then there's also the sort of risk that you make mistakes as you build that, like bugs become very costly in payment movement. And so having the peace of mind that we had sort of best in class people working on that infrastructure that we could just outsource to, like that's a huge benefit. And then also sort of reporting on an ongoing basis, like knowing that there is a platform that we can access that is a little bit better than the banking websites might offer. That's a huge deal. Being able to pull reports as needed is a real boon to our finance team. I know our finance team spends a lot of time in Modern Treasury. There are also the payment authorization workflow, so permissioning, and every once in a while I have to approve a wire that's over a certain dollar amount, and having those controls in Modern Treasury where I can just make sure that nothing irregular is happening. We've got controls at the banking level, but having them in Modern Treasury as well is super useful. And the one thing I'll share, there's sort of a variety of benefits, but the last thing I'll share is, we bank with Silicon Valley Bank. We still do, but we did before they had their crisis. And the the team that I most relied on as we were trying to figure out what do we do if Silicon Valley Bank, fails or goes into receivership, like what do we do? The Modern Treasury team was there helping us think through how do we migrate our logic to a new banking relationship if we need to? How do we go about pursuing that? And so having if we hadn't had that, I think we've been in a lot of trouble, or at least had a lot more stress while we were trying to work through solutions to making a banking relationship more mobile. So there are just myriad ways that Modern Treasury has been a great partner to us, and we expect to keep partnering with them for the future.
Thank you for that, Will. Yeah, that was a scary time, and I know that we have the bank redundancy set up for Sana now, and you have that additional backup bank partner, which is great. Elizabeth, for Alegeus, I know that, as I mentioned, we are in the earlier innings of our partnership, and across several different business lines, live on not all of them yet, but can you tell us a bit about some of the key benefits that you've seen from your partnership with Modern Treasury so far?
Sure. So one example is definitely this time savings for the team. So when we've had one of our business lines on Modern Treasury for about a year now, and the connectivity with the financial institutions and our internal platform has just saved a ton of time for that individual, and instead of having to do all of that manually or other electronic means that weren't quite as smooth or quick. So definitely a time savings on that front. Then as we've been implementing some more complex business lines, I would say the partnership and helping us kind of design and think how to build something that will really be able to scale across the rest of the business lines, and as we scale as a company, and really setting us up for success there. And then something I look forward to that we haven't totally unlocked yet because we're not live is just the robust data that we're going to get access to. And again, not, instead of looking back to what happened and reconciling, that's kind of going to be taken care of for us with Modern Treasury. We can kind of look forward and run our business using the data that we glean. So.
Awesome. I'm so excited to reach that point with Alegeus and get you fully live on automated reconciliation. Awesome. So as we wrap up here, would love to hear from you both. What does the future hold for the health and benefit space in terms of innovation? And what are you excited about? Elizabeth, I would love to have you start this one.
So I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm excited about some of the what the new generation coming into the workforce, or the younger generation, is going to kind of challenge us to think about and get creative as we maybe extend to like more whole lifestyle approach to benefit offerings, and really looking to their employer to kind of bring more to the table. So I'm excited to see what we get challenged with there. And then even use of cards to really help drive more specific utilization of dollars, right? Like going to a specific store that you're approved to buy apples on Tuesday or something like that. So really having a more tailored benefit offering to employees.
Awesome. Will, handing it over to you. What does the future hold in your space, and what are you excited about?
I think there's a lot that we can do to improve healthcare in this country. I feel like it keeps getting more expensive and more complicated, and it basically keeps getting worse in many ways. And the thing I'm most excited about that we're working on is bringing more care in-house, making a more integrated and simpler solution for customers. And payments are a part of that, like abstracting away all of the sort of insurance difficulty from patients as much as possible, and just allowing patients to return to more of a more human relationship with a provider without this overhang of having to pay up front, like Elizabeth was saying, with an urgent care setting, or having to worry about whether something is pre or post deductible, or whether, you're sort of eligible for this kind of care or not. Like I'd really like to sort of keep making investments on the back end so we can keep making the front end as simple as possible, so people just live happier, healthier lives. And I think there's a lot that we're doing at Sana to work on that, and partnering with folks like Modern Treasury to meet the complexity of the real world where it is, but then build services on top to abstract that away from patients. That's what I'm excited about working on.
Very cool. All right, so that puts us about right at time. Thank you, Will and Elizabeth, both so much for your insights and sharing more about both of your companies, and thank you for joining us. We truly appreciate your time and your participation. For everyone else, if you have any further questions or feedback, please feel free to reach out to us, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.